I didn't grow up with a lot of games, so what we had was what I played. I was pretty young when the NES was new, and I don't have much of a recollection of how or why many of our games came to us in the first place. The strangest case of a game that we owned was Bill and Ted. I can count the number of times I've seen this movie on one finger, and I never remember my family talking about it or even watching it. How we ended up with it is a total mystery. Most of what I remember about the Bill and Ted movies is conflated with wisps of Wayne's World and other 80s and 90s cool dude movies, but the most vivid memories and any nostalgia that I have for Bill and Ted comes straight out of Bill and Ted's excellent video game adventure for NES. Not having seen the Bill and Ted movies in many years was a great way to come back to this game again, because there's no way I could have had any unmet expectations about what a Bill and Ted game should be about. You play as either Bill or Ted, two budding musicians who in a future time are incredibly famous. Their eventual music career is wholly responsible for bringing peace to mankind, but in current day, their musical skills suck and they need as much time as possible to practice. As you might expect, there's a distraction keeping them from jamming. They need to right the wrongs of an evil rebel group. These rebels have taken historical dudes and babes of great importance like Rembrandt, Cleopatra, and Thomas Edison and dumped them into different eras from their own. As weird as it sounds, in order to practice and craft their musical skills, Bill and Ted need to find and lure these displaced people into their magical time-traveling phone booth and return them to their proper place in time. There seems to be some key plot points missing here to link these two stories together a bit better, but off we go. Each stage you play through is always one of 5: medieval, western, modern, US revolutionary, and ancient. The goal is also always the same: find a historical person and coax them to come along with you into your phone booth with some kind of bait. You might think that someone that's been ripped away from all that they know and transferred into a strange time and place might be worried or urgently seeking a way back, but the manual explicitly mentions that they like where they are and won't want to come along willingly. Most of your time in each level is spent trying to find these bait items, and they can be found using hints from townspeople that are standing around. Bumping into them will sometimes prompt them to give you a hint about a bait's location, and these can be extremely vague, like something strange can be found up north. Or they could be more direct and reference specific locations like the sheriff's office, for example. Playing through this as an adult and using the provided maps in the manual felt like a breeze compared to when I played as a kid. I used to wander and wander without any sense of direction while feeling completely overwhelmed and lost. But the crossroads are great landmarks to orient yourself with, and the maps in the manual also show you a compass so you know which direction is which. An in-game map would have helped even more, but following the hint trail at least told you where not to look and usually yielded decent results. Figuring out which baits are for which dude or babe is not as straightforward as you might hope. When I was a kid, the only bait joke or reference that I understood was Julius Caesar needing salad dressing. I had no idea who the other people were when I was 6, long before the days of the internet, so I spent a lot of time bugging my mom about it all. She kindly made notes at the back of the manual for me, and we drew all over everything in this book. While my collector brain would cringe at finding a game for purchase in this condition, here it teleports me back to a very happy time in my life. Anyway, between each stage you have to enter the circuits of time and travel in the phone booth through the phone number digits to reach your next destination. You can just let the phone booth run through the whole sequence by doing nothing, but that wastes your coins, and you need those to sacrifice to skulls at the end when the phone number path is incomplete. The top, middle, or bottom exits at the end each start you at different points on the stage map. This is really useful because once you learn the level order, you can choose where to enter a stage to be close to a bait spot if you want to. If you're like me and have no memory of the lay of the land, you just choose at the last second and hope for the best. Coins are also required to stave off people that you bump into from throwing you in jail. Everyone in this game is a bully, and unfortunately, you run into people a lot in this game. Maneuverable areas are tight with lots of obstacles that you can't pass through, and as the levels go on, the people move faster and faster. There are also characters that charge at you and use their arms as a battering ram to knock you down, which sends you directly to jail whether you have coins or not. I'm not sure why everyone's so mad here. They can't be the rebels that you're trying to stop since some of them will help you, but I guess you do look a little out of place compared to the locals. Besides from the people outside, there are a lot of people inside of buildings to talk to as well, but these conversations can go south very quickly. As a kid, I used to shuffle through conversation options with all of my fingers crossed for a hint or two, but while revisiting this game, I avoided them at all costs. Most of the time, if you say the wrong thing, it's off to jail you go, and avoiding jail is very important. If you lose all of your skeleton keys that allow you to leave your cell, it's game over for you. Thankfully, Bill and Ted are heavily armed at all times with food, explosives, and the power of dance. I love the sound effects in this game, especially the ones around using weapons. Throwing pudding cans and the sweet sound of carnage as people are converted to a puff of smoke are awesome. Someone chasing you? Blammo, they're dust. The cassette tapes are probably what I remember using most in my childhood because I thought the idea of forcing people to dance was the funniest thing. I always ran out of tapes and ended up directly in jail after the song ended since everyone turns on you when the music's done. Talk about catchy though. In fact, even though this game's soundtrack is pretty limited, when the music is playing, I really enjoy it, especially the canoe and the horse music. I can distinctly remember finishing these sections and then running back as fast as possible to replay them again just to hear the song over. It might sound ridiculous, but the horse and canoe areas were the things I looked forward to doing again the most in this game. It makes me think I should play more Enduro Racer for the Master System or SNK's Gladiator. Paperboy? Maybe isometric obstacle course or racing games are my secret superpower. As I expected, revisiting this game again felt like getting back on an old bike. Now that I'm equipped with better reflexes and a lot more knowledge about the people, places, and things in this adventure, it all came together a lot more easily than I was expecting. The awkward feelings of apologizing to Elvis while giving him his headstone or cringing at the thought of giving George Washington a pair of choppers made this experience humorous in the most awkward way, and I really enjoyed that. While this game used to be a time waster for me while I searched around aimlessly, there was a lot more anticipation to be had now. Every time I entered a building with the right description, I'd be hoping so hard for that happy tune and to find our historical dude or babe standing there. For the first time, Bill and Ted's excellent video game adventure didn't feel insurmountable. With lots of relatively coherent clues to go off of, there was a lot more puzzle solving that I never really understood as a kid that I was able to put together pretty easily now. Making headway gave me a vast sense of accomplishment. This game does make sense and gives you all the tools that you need to succeed, but you just have to know how to use them. Despite having an absolute ball playing Bill and Ted again, I didn't end up finishing the game. If I have one complaint, it's that it overstays its welcome by a very long stretch. I played for about 5 hours and only made it 2/3 of the way, and although it's something I'd love to see through to the finale someday, I think I've had enough of a taste of this one to tide me over for another little while. Considering that all I could remember about the movies was some chess game with Satan, I had a unique experience of not being swept up in this game being a movie tie-in, and was instead able to see it as just a game, and a fun one at that.